Okay, I would like to start by thanking the organizers for the possibility to present some preliminary results from my PhD thesis, which focuses on the coastal sanctuaries of the southern Iberian Peninsula during the first millennium BC. This research is closely linked to the scientific work of the project to which it belongs, called Tartés Olvidado en los Museos II. The main object of this project is to bring attention to sites and excavations that have not been sufficiently published with materials that remain unstudied in the museum collections. Okay. The pre-Roman sanctuary of La Algaida, also known as Monte Algaida, is located in the eponymous pine forest north of Sanlúcar de Barrameda in Cádiz, Spain. Situated at the mouth of the Guadalquivir River, at the entrance to the Betic inlet, this strategic position gave it a cosmopolitan character by connecting the Atlantic Mediterranean region. This cultural connectivity is reflected in the diversity and quantity of documented votive offerings. It has been identified as a Phoenician Punic sanctuary with a chronology spanning from the 6th to the 1st century BC. The first systematic excavations at the site were carried out in 1945 under the direction of Manuel Esteve Guerrero, who focused on uncovering an architectural complex. This complex has been interpreted as either a fish salting factory or a workshop for boat repairs. Subsequent campaigns conducted between 1978 and 1985, directed by the Museum of Cádiz, documented a sacred complex consisting of an open space or terminus. This area, lacking any pavement, was characterized by a substrate formed of compacted dune sediment mixed with ashes and offerings. Surrounding the terminus, 3 structures were identified, 2 rectangular and 1 square, featuring masonry planes of varying thicknesses and walls made of rammed earth. A clear stratigraphy is not, unfortunately, discernible due to the particular formation of the layers, likely resulting from the accumulation of buried or removed offerings, as well as interventions by the looters between the 1950s and the 1970s. This archaeological context reflects the complexity of the site as an important place of worship and trade, revealing cultural elements indicative of broad Mediterranean interaction.
ঠিক আছে আরিফ, তো আমার জন্য দোয়া করো। আমার তো এগুলো দেখে এত ভয় লাগে, মনে হচ্ছে কবে কোন দিন।
I'm sorry.
Yeah, don't worry.
Someone is entering, and
yeah.
I cannot see where it is. Sorry.
Among the oldest materials documented are various Etruscan and Phoenician bronzes dated to the early 6th century BC, such as those visible in the image. Additionally, several scarabs have been found there, including one from Naucratis, also dating to the 6th century BC. Furthermore, 3 small bronze objects, 1 arm and 2 feet, along with their respective shaft and pegs, which suggest their association with the statues of the smithing good types, are part of the oldest deposits of the sanctuary. Among the objects related to the worship of the deity, La Algaida has provided 2 types of female terracottas, incest partners in the shape of a female head, with more than 50 examples documented to date, and a maternal figure. Notably, several male representations have also been found, such as a bearded head in Hellenistic style, imported, and a torso and a head with raw features and Punic craftsmanship, resembling models known from Ibiza. The ceramic repertoire at La Algaida fits within the traditional Punic Caditanian repertoire, paralleling those documented at sites such as Doña Blanca and other settlements in the Cádiz countryside, including Cerro Naranja, Mesa de Astas, Évora, and Lebrija. It is therefore believed that the sanctuary reached its peak was most frequently visited during the Second Iron Age. Many of these show signs of the use, indicating the role in illuminating the space and highlighting the celestial aspect of the deity, as you can see in the many lamps. Among all these votive offerings, we must highlight the presence of a large number of beads made from various materials, carnelian, glass, rock crystal, amber, etc. In total, 1,307 specimens have been documented so far. Of these, the total number of glass beads reaches 835, with a wide variety of shapes, annular, spherical, cylindrical, ribbed, etc. The discovery of many of these pieces strung on silver threads suggests that they were offered as pendants. Our focus today will be on a set of 93 glass beads. The importance of these small artifacts lies in the traditional interpretation attributed to them within Iberian scholarly literature. These are composite objects characterized by a trapezoidal section base, a globular body, and an elongated appendage featuring a lateral perforation for suspension. Traditionally, these glass beads have been interpreted in Iberian scholarship as mammellas, or anatomical representation of the female breast, which has imbued them with a symbolic connection to a female deity associated with fertility and protection. In this case, Astarte Tinit, according to other votive offerings coming from the sanctuary. At the Algaida site, we have documented the largest known assemblage of such beads to the date. The collection is still under review as part of my PhD thesis, as ongoing research on the sanctuary materials may yield additional examples. They are primarily crafted from translucent glass paste, though a number of examples in cobalt blue, as you can see, and turquoise glass have also been identified. Beads with similar characteristics made of glass have been documented in the necropolises of Villarejo, tombs 365 and 532, El Llano de la Consolación in Albacete, in La Albufereta, Castrejón de Capote, and Ibiza. Comparable examples have also been found in two Iberian sacred sites, the necropolis of Camino del Río in Alicante, where a bronze specimen was found, and in the sanctuary of Castellar de Sant Esteban in Jaén. In the Mediterranean region, beads referred to as mammellas made of materials such as ivory, bronze, bone, and glass have been identified also in Sardinia, specifically in the necropolises of Nora and Avedras. The appearance of these beads in sacred and funerary context linked to the feminine sphere, either associated with a deity or a deceased woman, has led to their interpretation as breasts. Although this interpretation has become entrenched in the Iberian Peninsula, a recent comparative analysis with similar objects from the Aegean and the Central and Eastern Mediterranean allows us to propose a new interpretation. These breasts could represent miniature amphora. This identification, already proposed by some authors such as Alexiva, Esper, and Rousseau for Mediterranean and Black Sea specimens, suggests a different functionality and symbolism, providing new perspectives on the cultural connectivity of the Mediterranean and a re-evaluation of the role of votive offerings at the Algaida sanctuary. The production of these glass pendants, also commonly found in bone or metal, as I said, is well attested in workshops throughout the Mediterranean, Syria, Israel, Cyprus, Sardinia, Greece, and the Black Sea region between the late 6th and the early 2nd centuries BC, often coming from Phoenician contexts or in close contact with them. The glass specimens were primarily made from translucent glass paste, though there are also examples in cobalt blue or turquoise glass, with 17 specimens found at the Algaida site of this type. The design of these beads seem to imitate gold and glass paste artifacts already used in Greece and Macedonia during the late Archaic period, suggesting a direct influence of the artistic traditions of these regions in the production of glass beads. This reflects a process of cultural assimilation where communities adopted and adapted elements from other cultures. The discovery of these pieces in Iberian contexts allows us to reconsider the distribution of area of these objects, which was previously confined to the central and eastern Mediterranean and the Black Sea region. The phenomenon of replication and miniaturization of amphora vessels is well known and attested in the ancient Mediterranean. It has long been known that the Iberian Peninsula was an important center for the consumption of glass vessels made with a core produced in successive Mediterranean workshops from the mid-late 6th century BC until the turn of the millennium. During this period, glass amphoriscos were being produced that sometimes closely resembled contemporary real amphora models. We suggest that this could be a point of entry for the amphora shape into the repertoire of glass beads. Thus, in pre-Roman necropolises, we find vitreous-based ointments and amphora that reproduced on a small scale classical forms of Greek pottery. Among the most common were ointments, amphoriscos, ribalos, and alabasters, used to contain valuable ointments and oils that were considered luxury items. These oils and perfumes, used both in ritual context and in everyday life, formed part of the grave goods of the deceased, indicating their importance in rites of passage and protective practices. Previous research has proposed that the presence of perfumes in sacred spaces could be linked to concepts of fertility and renewal. This symbolic background can be transferred to the amphora-shaped glass beads, with function as a part for the whole, encapsulating the sense of the whole amphora in a miniature. These glass beads can therefore be interpreted as portable and simplified versions of the amphorisco. By carrying an amphora bead, the devoted always had the symbolic essence of the original vessel at his disposal, fulfilling an apotropaic and protective function, as these objects were commonly used as votive offerings in shrines and necropolises. The symbolism behind amphora-shaped glass beads can be interpreted from different perspectives. Firstly, their use in personal adornments, such as necklaces and bracelets, indicates that these beads probably reflected a level of social status. By possessing these artifacts, especially those made in the Mediterranean workshops, the wearers manifested their wealth and power, thus reinforcing their social identity and position in the community. However, their function was not limited to ornamentation. These objects fulfilled an apotropaic and protective role, similar to that of other artifacts which, in addition to adornment, had healing and ritual qualities, such as oil or perfumes that were associated with the vessels from which they were derived. These amphora-shaped beads were mainly used among women and children, who were considered the most vulnerable members of the society. The form of amphora or small ointments commonly associated with vessels for sacred oils or perfumes suggest a symbolic connection with the divinity, purification, and ritual. In addition, they may have been perceived as a symbol of the international fashion of the time, reflecting long-distance cultural and commercial connections. This made the beads not only a symbol of protection and devotion, but also a reflection of the economic capacity and access to exchange networks for the owner. Finally, the following conclusions can be drawn. Firstly, the amphora-shaped glass beads, previously interpreted in the Iberian Peninsula as mammellas, or representation of the female breast, are now reinterpreted as miniatures of amphora. This new interpretation allows us to understand the beads as a portable and accessible version of larger oil or perfume containers, known as amphoriscoi or core-formed glass vessels in their different forms, used in purification and fertility rituals. We have observed clear internal differences in the typology of this well-defined group, which could indicate fluctuations in the popularity of different forms from one group to another, again accompanying the general trends and fashions of successive production centers. The role of consumers and their tastes and social practices in shaping the different sets also deserves further exploration in the future. The Iberian examples offer some clues about the origin and trade routes responsible for the distribution of these beads, hinting at the role of Punic traders as key agents in the spread to the western extreme. The material discussed in the contribution is, in fact, worthy of further consideration as part of broader trade and consumption patterns that change over time, mirroring the evolving nature and geometry of commercial, social, and political networks. As a matter of fact, the evidence overviewed in this contribution clearly shows that amphora-shaped glass beads closely mirror, and in some cases clarify, the global economic story and also social and political history of Iron Age and early Roman communities in the Iberian Peninsula, and therefore deserve a continued and more in-depth analysis. And that's all. I will be happy to try to answer any questions you may have. Thank you very much for your attention.